Hello, everybody, and welcome to Penguins to Go, your daily dose of Pittsburgh Penguins news and analysis. You can find us on YouTube at Inside the Penguins or anywhere you get your podcasts from. I'm your host, Nick Brlansky, and the Pittsburgh Penguins have now won 6 straight games, a season-long winning streak, thanks to a 2-1 victory over the Western Conference leading Dallas Stars, and a very important goal for Evgeny Malkin, who had failed to score since his 1,000th game in Chicago. I should say score a goal because he is on a 6-game point streak to coincide with the Penguins' 6-game winning streak. But the purpose for this Penguins to Go is to talk about 2 Pittsburgh Penguins, not just one, but 2 Pittsburgh Penguins who are on a major trophy trajectory. Now, everybody from Turtle Creek to Cranberry has talked about Sidney Crosby for the Hart Trophy, his MVP case here in December. And I can't disagree. For those that haven't heard it, we'll talk a little bit about it. The last time that Sidney Crosby won the Hart Trophy as the NHL's MVP was in the 2013-2014 NHL season. He scored 36 goals, 104 points, and most importantly, the Pittsburgh Penguins won the Metropolitan Division. Now, if you don't remember, that was the first year of the realignment. That was the first year the Metropolitan Division existed, aka the first year that the Washington Capitals were in the Pittsburgh Penguins division. The Pens went out, they won their division, clearly didn't go and win a Stanley Cup. That ended up being the year that Dan Bilesma and Ray Shero and basically everybody above Sidney Crosby and below Mario Lemieux and Ron Burkle were canned. But that's the last time he was able to win the Hart Trophy. Fast forward to this season. He is now 35 years old, and he has 38 points in 29 games. 17 of those 38 points being goals. And everybody wants to mention his pace. What's he on pace for, Nick? What is he able to do this season that he hasn't been able to do in so many years? Well, he's on pace for 48 goals and 107 points. Just in case you're not aware of his career highs or where that would rank among Sidney Crosby seasons, the 48 goals, if he were able to pull that off, would be the second highest total of his entire career. And the 107 points would be the third highest points total of his career. At the age of 35, to have a career season is already ridiculous. But to have a career season and be Sidney Crosby, who is one of the 5 greatest players in the history of the National Hockey League, that's an entirely different story. Now, national media hasn't picked up on it. And I can tell you right now, the reason that national media hasn't picked up on it is I feel like national media, in efforts to try and grow the game, are basically done with Sidney Crosby narratives. Every once in a while, they'll bring him back around. Trust me, they're going to hit it hard for the Winter Classic. But it's a little bit more interesting to talk about Alex Ovechkin closing in on 800 goals, closing in on Gordie Howe. And don't get me wrong, that is a tremendous career achievement that should be in the national spotlight. The national media is looking at Connor McDavid. He has, I believe, 56 points right now. 55 points, excuse me. And he is not going to be caught. He's going to win the Art Ross Trophy. But not enough people, I feel like, in the national spotlight. Because, like I said, Turtle Creek to Cranberry, everyone is talking about Sidney Crosby and why he should be considered for the NHL MVP, at least as of right now in mid-December. The national media is not talking about it. Another reason they should, though, the Pittsburgh Penguins power play, listen, they've been great. The last 6 games, 6-game winning streak, a big portion of that is because they have scored a power play goal in all 6 of those games. But before that, the first 23 games of the season, inept is the word that comes to mind. So Sidney Crosby wasn't raking in power play points. In fact, when you go to 5-on-5, When you go to even strength, Sidney Crosby is leading the league in 5-on-5 points with 31 this season. 31 of his 38 points have come at 5-on-5. Only 7 points on the man advantage. I mentioned that leads the league. Second place is Erik Karlsson. So talk about players who are in the latter stages of their careers just absolutely killing it still. Erik Karlsson for the San Jose Sharks has 28. Jason Robertson, who we just saw on Monday night, the Penguins were able to stifle him, has 27 5-on-5 points, and Connor McDavid has 26. So for all of you that want to do the quick math, that means Connor McDavid has 29 power play points. He actually might have some shorthanded, but 29 points. At least 25. I'll have to look that up really quickly. But the majority of his points are coming on the man advantage, which, no shade to him, that's great for the Edmonton Oilers. You have a great power play. But when thinking about the most valuable player in the National Hockey League, maybe should be the guy that is doing it at even strength. Now, if the Penguins' power play gets going, Sidney Crosby might be able to shoot up the leaderboard. I believe he's 6th right now in the points race. He's not going to catch Connor McDavid. But he is still, and should be considered, a massive favorite to at the very least be a finalist for the Hart Trophy in 2023. I mentioned he's not going to catch McDavid at 55 or Draisaitl, who's second with 46. And I might just rest my case right there. The most valuable player, without Crosby, this Penguins team is nowhere near where they're at. Without McDavid, that Oilers team might still be in 3rd or 4th in the Pacific because of Leon Draisaitl. But I mentioned at the top of the show that there are 2 Penguins on a major trophy trajectory. And I know everybody's talked about Crosby. I went into it a little bit longer than I expected to. But the one that I feel a little bit more strongly for is Tristan Jarry. The Pittsburgh Penguins goaltender is on trajectory to be a finalist and or a winner of the NHL's Vezina Memorial Trophy. That's for the best goaltender in the National Hockey League. Now, Jarry had a slow start to the season. He did have 5 straight losses between October 28th and November 12th, and he was dealing with, quote, physical issues around that time. Remember that story? It came out he was dealing with physical issues, but nobody would want to say that he was injured. So who knows what that is? Story's done, story's dead, it's in the past. But he struggled through that stretch. Since then, Tristan Jarry has played in 10 games. And among starters, here's how he ranks. .944 save percentage, 4th best in the National Hockey League. 1.77 goals allowed average, 4th best in the National Hockey League. And 6.68 goals saved above expected. That is 1st in the National Hockey League. And in that time, Tristan Jarry, last 10 games, 9-0-1. The only game he lost was that overtime defeat at the hands of the Carolina Hurricanes when the rest of his team quit playing and allowed the Hurricanes in overtime to come in on a 2-0. And he almost made the save. So he has been absolutely 100% unequivocally dominant in the past month. One of the best, if not the best goaltenders in the National Hockey League during that stretch, during a large portion of the season. Now, a lot of people are going to say it's going to be hard for him to overtake a Igor Shesterkin or Ilya Sorokin, who's also up there and very good, or an Andrei Vasilevsky. And listen, all of those Russian goaltenders are great. But Tristan Jarry should be considered in that mix of guys right now. Now, the title of this episode is Trajectory. That's an important word. That means the way they're currently heading, they should be in that conversation and a serious contender in that conversation. You look at Tristan Jarry's full season numbers. That's including that slow stretch. 13 wins, tied for 4th in the National Hockey League. A .920 save percentage, tied for 6th in the National Hockey League. 2.67 goals allowed average, which is 19th. He's going to have to work on that. And 7.45 goals saved above expected. That's good for 5th in the National Hockey League. During that stretch, again, it was early. He was one of the bottom goaltenders in that category. So he has been so unbelievably good that he has climbed not back into just relevance in that very important statistical category. He is in the top 5. And like I mentioned earlier, he's the best in that category over the past month. So the Pittsburgh Penguins have one of the best goaltenders in the league playing for them right now. They have one of the best players in the league playing for them right now in Sidney Crosby, the way he's performing. And you're seeing the results. 11 wins in the last 13. The Penguins now have sole possession of second place in the Metropolitan Division and are gaining ground on the New Jersey Devils. I believe they're 6 points back or 7 points back of the Devils, which, if you would have looked at it about 2 weeks ago, would have seemed like a pipe dream. But the Penguins have been dominant. They've been beating bad teams, but also starting to beat some good teams as well. Very important win over the Dallas Stars on Monday night. They're going to have a lot of important games coming up, as they have the Florida Panthers on Thursday. Then they have the Carolina Hurricanes on Saturday. And then basically the rest of 2022 is Metropolitan Division matchups. A really good opportunity for them to continue to hold ground in the Metro, gain ground on a team maybe like the New Jersey Devils, and put yourself in the forefront of the NHL's discussion right at the perfect time when you're heading into the Winter Classic on January 2nd. Because the better they are leading into that game, the more national spotlight is going to be on Tristan Jarry and Sidney Crosby. And these voters, they might say they watch all of the games. They might say they watch as much hockey as anybody in the world, but they can't watch everything. They can't. I've tried. It's impossible. So when you're in the national spotlight, when you're leading up to the national spotlight, you need to perform at your best if you want to be considered in these major trophy categories, especially for Sidney Crosby when you're going up a guy like Connor McDavid, who's automatically going to have the most impressive counting stats in the league. So when people go to look at the stats before they make their selection, Connor McDavid's going to look like the big flashing red light. But Crosby has to build up these storylines. He has to build up this team. And he's done that to this point. And so is Tristan Jarry. The road is not as long and winding for Tristan Jarry as it is for Sidney Crosby. But it's not going to be easy for Jarry to be in that discussion. The one last thing I want to mention about Tristan Jarry, he's doing this in a contract season. Something that was mentioned a lot early in the year. Haven't heard it mentioned very much now. I know Ron Hextall's probably talking to Tristan Jarry's agent. Tristan Jarry's agent's probably saying, yeah, the longer we look at him playing like this, the more that paycheck's going to go up. And trust me, the Pittsburgh Penguins, I don't care what the number is, they're going to figure out a way to sign Tristan Jarry. You can't let him go. You just can't. But as of right now, and this could change, but as of right now, his next contract is going to start with a 6. At minimum, a 6. That'll put him firmly in the top 15, potentially in the top 10 of highest paid goaltenders in the National Hockey League. The way he's performing right now, he definitely deserves it. But for both of these guys, Tristan Jarry and Sidney Crosby, if they want to win those respective trophies, the Vezina Trophy and the Hart Trophy, the Penguins will need to, again, like they did in 2014 when Crosby won the Hart Trophy, win the Metropolitan Division. That's going to do it for this episode of Penguins to Go. I thank you for tuning in. I want to let you know that you can find us on YouTube at Inside the Penguins or anywhere you get your podcasts. But that's going to do it for this one. We'll be back tomorrow with a brand new Penguins to Go as we gear up for another matchup for the Penguins against a good team in the Florida Panthers. That'll do it for this one. Have a great day, Pens fans.